Hi, it's Olga. Today we're going to make a quick and simple holiday wreath entirely from scratch. We are going to use some pine cones and pine branches, plus some things that you can find around the house. You won't need any special supplies except a hot glue gun. To create a base for the wreath, you will need a piece of cardboard. I'm going to recycle an old pizza box. Of course, any other box will do. To create the round shape, I'm going to use one of the lids from the kitchen, or if you have a circle drawer, of course you can use that as well. So I'm tracing the lid with the pencil. This particular one is about 13 inches in diameter. I'm going to repeat this process on the other side. Because this cardboard is a bit thin, I'm going to connect two layers. Next, I have to cut out this circle. Again, because the cardboard I'm using is quite thin, I can use the scissors to cut it out. If you are using thicker cardboard from a bigger box, just go with a knife. Then I'm cutting out the second circle from the other side of the box. To create the center of the wreath, I'm going to trace one of the plates from the kitchen, and this one is about 7.5 inches. I'm placing it in the center, and I'm not even measuring anything, I'm just eyeballing it. It's okay if one side is 1 or 2 millimeters larger than the other. Then I'm going to use a craft knife and cut out the center. Don't push too hard or it can slip. Just go gently around the outline and then repeat it the second time to finish off your cut. I'm placing the open circle frame onto the remaining circle. I'm tracing the inside with a pencil and then I'm going to cut it out as well. Before I stick down the two layers together, I'm going to attach a piece of ribbon, so I'm applying some glue onto the cardboard ring and I'm placing the ribbon facing down inside the circle like this. And then I'm using the plastic block, or you can use any other object to press it down, just not to burn your fingers. Then I'm wrapping the ribbon around the ring. You can use the twine if you want to, and of course you can make this loop as long as you want to. I'm also using a little bit of hot glue to attach the ribbon on the opposite side. Once I'm settled with the length of the loop, I'm trimming off the rest of the ribbon, and at this point you can just attach it to the ring like this, but I have decided to add a knot. I'm wrapping the end of the ribbon around the loop and then I'm feeding the end through the knot. It's a little bit similar to a tie knot. Then again I'm using the hot glue to attach the end of the ribbon to the paper ring. Now I'm going to apply some liquid glue onto the paper ring to connect the two layers. The reason I'm not using the hot glue this time is because it's too quick drying and I wouldn't be able to cover up a surface as large as this one. I'm still going to add a little bit of hot glue onto the ribbon area and then I'm cover up the first layer with the second circle, and this way the ribbon will be trapped in between the two layers. And now the fun part, which is attaching the pine cones. Here I have a few of them of different sizes. Those are the ones that I have gathered myself. Besides the pine cones, I also have these funny shaped cones, which are from cypress trees. All projects like this one, it always makes sense to start with the largest elements and then move on to the smaller ones. I'm starting by placing the largest pine cones in a circle just to find out how many I'm going to need for this wreath, and it turned out I'm going to need 10. I'll be sticking down the pine cones one by one, so I'm applying a generous amount of glue at the base of the cone, and I'm sticking it down like this so that it overlaps the inner edge of the wreath, and this way the paper base is going to be hidden. I'm holding down the cone just for a few seconds until the glue settles, and then I'm moving on to the next one. I'm trying to place each next pine cone as close as possible to the previous one. This is not a rocket science really, this project is very forgiving, so if you place it a bit further or closer, it's totally fine. I keep attaching the largest pine cones around the inner edge of the wreath until I have the circle completed. By the way, before you start making this project, I would suggest that you make sure you have a few extra glue sticks, because one 12-inch stick will definitely be not enough for this project. You're going to need about 2 or 3 of them. Once all the large pine cones are attached, I'm going to switch to the smaller ones, and I'll be attaching them in between the large ones like this. By the way, you can use nearly any hot glue gun for this project unless it's too small. The one I'm using here is by Bosch, and to be honest, it's more expensive than the rest on the market, but I'm using it for nearly 15 years now and I never regretted owning it. Again, I keep on attaching the small pine cones in between the large ones until I finish off the ring. Now it's time for those funny cypress cones that look like little explosion models. By the way, if you don't have them, you can totally replace them with the walnuts. They will work just as fine. So what I'm going to do is to attach the 2 cypress cones in between the small pine cones. It's nice to have more cones that you are going to need, and this way I can choose if I'm going to place the smaller ones or bigger ones, because the spacing between the cones is not identical. Sometimes I even have to use 3 cones instead of 2, but it's still going to be fine. This project is really organic and it's very forgiving. At this point, I think my wreath is missing something red. It's a holiday wreath after all, so I'm going to attach those small ribbon bows that I made myself a few years ago. I'm going to attach a little bow onto every other large pine cone. By the way, those bows also have practical purpose. For instance, some of the pine cones are a bit broken, and I'm going to cover up those imperfections with decorations. I'm going to attach the remaining 4 bows exactly the same way. And that is all the glue work that we have to do. At this point you can totally call your project done, but I have decided to add one more nice touch, and that is the fresh pine branches. The ones that I have come from the shrub pine in my garden that needed trimming anyway. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to trim them down if necessary, and then I'm simply sticking them in between the pine cones. I'm not using any glue here for 2 reasons. The first one is they hold on just fine without any glue. The second one is that this way you can discard the branches at the end of the holiday season and keep the wreath until the next year, and then you can replace them with the fresh branches. Again, you can add as few or as many branches as you want to. I have decided to add as many as I possibly can. So now I'm lifting up the wreath and I'm sticking the branches all around the outer edge of the wreath. By the way, it's a great way to hide the open cardboard areas if you have them. They don't look horrible anyway, but this way they will be just completely hidden. Once I'm done with the outer edge, I'm moving on to the inner edge and I'm adding the branches exactly the same way, sticking them in between the pine cones. Once it's done, I'm going to add the remaining branches just here and there whenever I see a suitable spot. And now I can call my wreath done. And this is what the finished project looks like. It's not heavy at all, and it also smells great. The base of the wreath is completely flat and it makes it convenient to put against the wall, but at the same time the wreath itself is really dimensional. It's a great and quick little project that you can make to decorate your own house, and it's also great as a gift. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. The next project of my holiday series is coming out tomorrow, and I hope to see you then. Bye bye!